Yeah, let's take us down that, because that was literally my next question, is this ayahuasca experience, because you hear a lot of people tell their experience, but now I've got you literally sitting across from me, so I would love to hear much detail as possible. I've never done it.
Have you ever done any sort of hallucinogen or plant medicine?
Never.
Really?
Never.
This is so interesting because, like, when I witness you and what you've created, I'm like, this dude just has insane vision. You're a visionary.
Yeah. And I've felt that way my whole life. And that's why, like, for me, I've been exposed in terms of talking to people that do ayahuasca and mushrooms and ketamine and these kind of things. And they explain it. And I just have never had a real, like, my soul doesn't say I need that. My soul is like saying that that's who I am already. Like, that's just my take on it. Like, I don't know if that's true or not or whatever, but that's just kind of how I feel. But I will say microdosing has actually been very kind of like starting to speak to me a little bit more, particularly because I'm big into like cordyceps and lion's mane and kava and kratom and stuff like that, which is kind of similar, not really. Probably you'll tell me not really, but so anyways, I'm interested. So definitely let's hear about Peru.
Well, yeah, and before we even mention that though, like, what's, again, going back to your vision, right? This requires massive vision, and one of the beautiful things, again, and I'm curious about this, we'll talk about this later, but like one thing that happened, what led me to pursue ayahuasca. At the time, I was like a very well-respected trainer. I was mostly doing like one-on-one sessions with people at their properties. Okay. In Golden Beach.
I went down that road too.
Aventura.
Yep.
And there reached a point, bro.
There wasn't as much traffic back then, so you could actually do that,
Yeah. And I was living in Sunny Isles. But there was that point where, that light bulb moment where it's like, okay, well, I like this, but there's only some certain level of scalability. There's only one of me.
Exactly.
Right?
I had that revelation too. So.
And there's that. And then there's also the realization, as I got more mature and I kept doing this inner work, I realized, wow, I'm getting paid to train these people in the gym, but the shit that I'm helping them the most actually isn't even really related to fitness.
Yep.
It was the other stuff I was sharing with them. So I felt like this whole time I had built this persona and this identity that was so attached to a trainer, like my physical body, and that was my self-worth and identity. And I knew I was meant for more. So that was like a precursor of why I felt this call to ayahuasca. Mm-hmm. So first night in Peru, bro. First night in Peru, I literally got all of the answers I needed. It was wild.
Wow.
And basically,
so the first trip.
Yeah, and basically what happened, and just for your knowledge, for your audience too, ayahuasca is a plant medicine indigenous to the Amazon, right? It's been used for thousands of years, not just for healing, but for expanding our consciousness, right? And expanding possibilities, because the thing is, sometimes you can't see what you can't see. Mm-hmm. And sometimes our brains get so rigid and we get so attached to these different identities and stories and narratives. And sometimes it takes something external to shake us up a little bit and remind us how powerful we are, how much potential we have. So, dude, the first ceremony in Peru, probably 3 or 4 hours in, I get a tap on my shoulder in my experience, and it's Nicki Minaj. And she's like, yo, Jeremy, I've been watching you. And I'm like, Nicki, like, what the fuck? How do you know who I am? She's like, yo, I've been watching you, and I actually want to do an Instagram live with you right now where you can just share whatever's on your mind for 30 minutes.
What year is this?
This is 2018.
Okay.
And the funny thing about it, bro, is like, I was not a fan of Nicki's music. Like, she had collabs with Drake, and I would always skip through her part. Like, I was just not a fan.
Yeah.
Until this moment. Now I have this whole new love for her. So basically in that experience, Nicki was like giving me permission to just do an Instagram live with her. So I just start channeling during my ayahuasca ceremony, which you're not really supposed to do, because there's 15 other people at mine, and
when you say channeling, what do you mean?
Channeling, I just mean speaking out loud.
Oh, okay.
As if I'm on this Instagram live.
Oh, wow.
But everyone's going through their own experience. So it's not recommended to really like be speaking because that could affect someone else's.
Right.
But I start speaking, and the shaman and the medicine team like came over to make sure I was okay. They saw I was okay, and they just let me keep speaking. So I'm just sharing, bro, stream of consciousness, right, in this deep state with ayahuasca. And what happened was a couple hours later, after the ceremony ended, 6 or 7 of the people from my group came up to me separately, and they're like, bro, you have no idea how much your words helped me. They literally shifted my whole perspective. They got me out of like a lot of darkness. Whatever you said was a revelation, and you have a gift.
Do you remember what you said?
No.
Yeah.
But I have an idea.
Yeah.
Like, it was just channeling. I wish that shit was recorded, but that was a permission slip, like just giving me that validation of what I already knew that I had inside of me. So shortly thereafter, I was like, I want to start creating content from an authentic space. I want to start recording a podcast. I want to just start expressing more of my authentic expression with the intention of empowering others to do the same. Because 99% of people are walking through life wearing a fucking mask.
Yep.
You're wearing a mask at work. You're wearing a mask with your husband or wife. You're wearing a mask with that group of friends. You're wearing a mask when you go out at night. And it's like, we're fearing just being ourselves. It's
Say that again.
Like the biggest fear that humans have is actually just being themselves.
That is the most profound thing that needs to be said so many times, because 1000%, I've had this conversation with some of my really close friends of like, what would a world look like if we took the mask off? What would the world look like if we truly said what's really going on in here? These conversations that we have in our, like.
Well, when did that happen for you? Because again, you were training, you built your first gym out in 2008, right? You're obviously like a big fucking jack dude. So people are obviously going to have their own stories. Like,
exactly.
This is how Manning is.
I think that's what it is for me was, and that even started young. So I was always the star athlete, right? Like that was who I was, he's the star athlete. So whether it was basketball, baseball, football, I was always the guy. Tennis, like everything.
Oh, you play tennis?
Yeah, everything.
Oh, dope.
So
we got to hit sometime.
Well, I haven't played in a long time, so don't get me out there. But back in the day, in my younger self. So I also loved art. I loved music. I loved singing. I loved all these other things that weren't considered, the jock stuff. And so I was the lead in the plays, and like I'll never forget, I was the lead in Lullaby of Broadway, in high school. So
wow.
And that side of me, as far as the deep, like inside of me, was probably more, I had more passion for that than I even did working out in the sports and all that. I was just so good at it that I did it. And then also too, I did enjoy it obviously, but I can say that like, I always felt, like you said, more than that, more than a body, more than a guy that, can work out or play football. I always felt like I had way more to offer. Way more from a creative standpoint, from a visionary standpoint, from a sharing standpoint. Like I knew that I was meant for more from an early age. Like,
yeah.
So.
And this is just kind of like your paintbrush, and this is like your foundation where you're using this as a launching pad to just impact all types of people in all sorts of ways.
Yeah. It was very early on where also I would say, and I'll have to ask you about this. So they say like ayahuasca it's like the death of the ego. Is that true, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, dude, it's interesting, right? A lot of spiritual gurus will talk about, dissolving your ego, killing your ego. I actually have a different perspective.
Okay,
I don't think you
thought you did. So
I don't think you should try to kill your ego. Right. I think you should actually try to understand your ego and become friends with your ego, and not allow your ego to have control over you, but don't try to kill your ego, because actually your ego is helpful in many different ways. Right. Your ego has helped you become the person that you are today. So let's not just vilify the ego, right? It's actually becoming friends with the ego. Yeah. Same thing with anxiety. People are like, yo, I want to fucking eliminate my anxiety. I'm like, but I guarantee your anxiety actually serves you in some ways. It's like, how can we just better understand it?
Yeah, I call it like just being more self-aware.
Yeah.
So self-awareness is something that I just think people like completely miss a lot of times. And I think as you get older, that self-awareness really like comes to like, you start to realize who you are. And when you fuck up, when you act like an idiot, when you say stupid shit, like you immediately recognize it. And you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done it. And then you correct it. But like some people, it takes them years and years just to become self-aware. So,
and let's actually piggyback off that for ayahuasca, mushrooms, psychedelics. Let's just be very clear. I know people who have done hundreds of ayahuasca ceremonies and they're still a shit show. Okay? Because they haven't actually applied the lessons that they learned into their day-to-day life. And that's really what the work is. That's what the integration is all about. It's like, okay, I received these powerful downloads. What am I going to do with them?
Yep.
Right?
Knowledge without application is a waste of time.
Exactly. And like you said, you had a vision for this place back in 2008, right?
Yep.
And you put it up, 16 years later, right? But it started as a vision and you didn't let the vision die.
Right.
And going back to what you were saying too, it's interesting. Like, we will always do what we get validated for externally. So if you're really hot and attractive and you get a bunch of validation and compliments, you're going to keep posting those pictures of you in the bikini. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
And so many dudes also just get attached. Like, you're jacked, you're a trainer, whatever, you have a nice body, and you allow that to become your identity. And you're allowing your soul to be starved in that process, because your soul has such a bigger purpose,
right,
beyond your body, beyond the physical realm. So we're going to continue chasing the validation externally from what we're getting complimented on. So you're an amazing athlete. You're an amazing trainer. You have an amazing physique. It's like, okay, let me keep doing more of that so I keep getting the love.
right,
Right? Because we all crave love at the end of the day. And it's not until you actually take a pause and you're like, yo, wait, is this in alignment with me? Like, what am I doing trying to please all of these people externally and neglecting my soul in the process? Mm-hmm. And that's what's allowed you to create the impact you are doing right now, is because your soul is here for a much bigger mission beyond the fucking fitness stuff.
Right.
Yep. It's
so,
beautiful.
So how many times have you done ayahuasca?
I've done it 8 ceremonies total.
Okay.
So what happened the second ceremony, so the Nicki Minaj, usually you go on a retreat for like 7 days and you'll do 3 ceremonies.
Okay.
Like maybe you'll do it one night, take a break the next night, do it the next night after that. Because what happens is every single ayahuasca ceremony is its own movie, its own revelation. And what's interesting is, like, someone like you're like, I don't really think I need this. My life's pretty good. I'm mentally stable. I'm financially stable. I'm thriving. I have good relationships. What's beautiful about ayahuasca, bro, is it gives you exactly what you need, not necessarily what you want.
Oh, what you want, right.
Right? And that's why it's so powerful. They call it grandmother. They call ayahuasca the grandmother medicine.
Yeah.
Because it's like that wise grandmother that gives you so much love, but she's also not afraid to give you that tough love. Right? She's going to show you where you've been out of alignment. She's going to be showing you where you're out of integrity. And she's also going to acknowledge you for where you're doing amazing. People think ayahuasca is always this really dark experience. Ayahuasca, bro, you see how much light and love and gratitude and oneness and connection there is. And that's why so many people have experiences and they have this newfound appreciation for God. Mm. And I think we would, as a society, all benefit more if we felt that connection to God, right? To this universal power, right?
Right.
And yeah, man. So like the second ceremony, it's the last ceremony I'll share with you. But like the second ceremony, again, is when the shit with my brother came up. So I was literally purging in a bucket, but I knew intuitively I wasn't purging for me. And I literally felt my brother's guilt, shame, insecurity being purged out of me. Mm. And I hadn't thought about my brother in months. I was like, that dude has been out of my life for so long. I just accepted it.
Younger?
Older.
Older, bro.
5 years older. I'm 34. He's 39.
Okay.
And I was like, what does this mean? And I was like, oh shit. I didn't realize how much his absence actually affected me in my life, because I had this fear of abandonment, because shit, if the person I'm closest to just leaves, right? What's going to keep you from doing the same shit? So in all my friendships, intimate relationships, I was never allowing myself to get too close to someone, because I had this fear that they would just fucking leave, right? And I didn't have that realization until the ayahuasca experience. And it also led me to like just call my brother, and I was like, yo, bro, I don't give a fuck about the shit from the past 15 years, dude. We can start fresh. You don't have to hold on to all of the guilt, right? Like, I'm moving past it. Let's fucking start a new life together, you know? And that would have never happened without ayahuasca. So it just brings awareness to things that we're not even thinking about.
Right.
You know?
How are y'all today?
It's still like a roller coaster. I would say, you know, definitely in a completely different space.
Okay.
Positively.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still challenges for sure. My brother struggles with some mental things, like bipolar and stuff. So it can be really tough when you have a loved one with bipolar, man. It's so unpredictable. Right. And one day you think everything is good, and then literally the next moment, shit's hitting the fan.
Wow.
So it's really taught me just like surrender and acceptance. I can only show up and support you as much as you're willing to be supported.
Right.
And that's just a powerful lesson for life, is like, how often are we trying to help someone who doesn't actually want to be helped, or they're not open to receiving the support? It happens all the time with our parents and shit. It's like, we're healthy, we have all this knowledge, we want to share it with our parents, and we almost like force it upon them, but they're not ready to receive it in that way.
Right.
So we almost have to pause, come from a place of love, and also remember that it's not our obligation to transform their happiness. Obviously, we can show up in the most powerful way possible, but it's like that. It's been a valuable lesson. Yeah. It's been like we call it like a tikkun. This word tikkun from Kabbalah means soul's repair. So our soul has come here with things to repair, whether it's jealousy issues, anger, insecurities, fear of abandonment. And our job is to heal that and then help others do the same. And by the way, to talk about ayahuasca and mushrooms, right? Literally, you can think about it in the way that we're talking right now and connecting and podcasting. We're having one conversation, and then it like sparks this new conversation. Yeah. And it's like this never ending, like beautiful fucking tree of life branching off in these different directions. That's kind of what plant medicine opens up.